As a true blue Aussie who's never been to the US, my vast knowledge of America comes solely from TV shows and news. However, there are three things I know for certain. They love guns, trucks, and f***ing hate dragons. With all that in mind, can you beat Skyrim as a level 1 American? The feds and subsequently my felonies had finally caught up to me. I wasn't sure where I was heading, but it definitely involved a chair and 2,500 volts of electricity applied directly to my nipples. In Helgen, Lokir decided death by arrow was preferable to beheading. I couldn't make my mind up, but the latter did seem quicker. As an American this playthrough, I understood my constitutional right to bear arms. The perfect name for this yank mammal was Supreme Leader Legfoot, the person who suggested this run. Just as I was embracing justice for my horrendous crimes from the 80s, Alduin showed up to prove once and for all that only the good die young. Alduin was lucky my hands were bound. He had no clue what I was capable of. Bitching into Helgen Keep, my binds were cut and I searched for the weapons I'd stashed here years ago, knowing one day I would be caught. There, as beautiful as the day we parted, were the only weapons I will use this run. Did you seriously just call this a level 1 American run because you don't level up and use guns? Yep. That isn't lore friendly. Wait, hear me out. They're magical guns. Now that that's settled, I blasted my way through Helgen. Much like in real life, being shot by a gun looked like it wasn't fun, and resulted in my targets dying very quickly. How's that for realism? Before we head for the Dragonstone, I have two things of utmost importance to attend to. The first awaited me in Riverwood.
Nice weapon you've got there. Care to put it away?
My old friend, Tipsy Smurf, would be joining us on this patriotic mission. The second and far less enjoyable thing was collecting my son. I'd looked at the calendar, and unfortunately, it was my week to look after him. The idiot had somehow got captured by a witch. I couldn't help but blame his alcoholic mother. The witches who kidnapped him paid for their wrongdoings, and my son was ever ungrateful.
Oh, thanks, I guess. It's not too bad here. Lots of ladies to choose from. And not a lot of clothes.
I don't know where he gets it from. That's a lie, it's Susan, that no-good doll-bludging bitch. With my boy and best friend at my side, we were ready to tackle Bleak Falls Barrow. The bandits were blissfully unaware of the new world beatdown they were about to receive. They stood no chance. Same goes for the giant spider and Arvel, who were both at the receiving end of my double barrel. The Draugr, once mighty warriors, now had to face death a second time to my hand cannons. I learnt the first word to unrelenting force and prepared for the climactic battle with the dungeon boss. Tipsy Smurf, as always, had my back. Not wanting me to waste ammo, he dispatched the Draugr overlord himself. The Dragonstone now cradled in my flag-waving arms, we travelled to Whiterun. A well-aimed bullet sent a giant to the next life, and I gained audience with Jarl Bolgraf. Rufus, my boy, embarrassed me by approaching the Jarl, bringing shame upon our family. After giving the Dragonstone to Farengar, I reflected on the fact that he has the stupidest fucking name in this whole game. Whoever named him should not only be fired, but given the death penalty also. I still had one more person to join me, someone who I needed in my life now more than ever. Jesus. Word of a dragon heading for Whiterun piqued the squad's interest. I got so excited I accidentally unloaded a bullet into Jesus' cranium.
You killed Jesus.
And on the third day did I use console commands to resurrect him. Finally, a formidable challenge approached my pair of Glocks. The dragon was dead, but it didn't realize until it landed. As an American, I absorbed the dragon's soul. That's something they can do, I looked it up. By birthright, I had to meet the Greybeards. On the path to High Hrothgar, I left no witnesses. Both animals and people couldn't be left to live after they knew where I was heading. In High Hrothgar, I shouted at the forefathers to tell me what I needed to do. Rufus had no clue what was going on. The forefathers tasked me with retrieving their horn, so they could blow, and give it to each other, so all of them could have their turn blowing. Ustengrav had more Draugr and people awaiting trial. I yet again took on the role of judge, jury, and executioner, deeming all unfit to continue persisting in this world. Rufus, Jesus, Tipsy the Smurf, and I were all too late. The horn had already been taken. Prospects of the Greybeards being able to blow with each other were looking slimmer. We headed to Riverwood Inn in pursuit of the Horn, and got more than we bargained for. The Horn was there, but so was the leader of a group trying to stop the return of dragons. Before proving to Delphine I was a US citizen, I returned the Horn to the Greybeards. Not only could I withstand all of them using the voice, but Rufus could too. At least he wasn't a total disappointment. Back with Delphine, we witnessed Alduin bring a dragon back from the dead. Just like my high school coach used to say, having no skin doesn't matter. I unloaded 2 buckshots into this skelly boy before he even left the ground, causing him to fall back where he came from. Once again, I used my innate American ability to absorb its soul. Thoroughly convinced I was in fact a member of the US public, Delphine made me go undercover to the Thalmor embassy to see if I could find who was behind the dragons. I gave Malborn all the essentials and left Rufus in the capable hands of Tipsy Smurf. By this point, Jesus had abandoned us. Maybe he knew something we didn't. I caused a distraction and left the party. It was here I realised Rufus must have given Tipsy the slip, as he was now with me. If anything, he would act as a perfect meat shield. With my boy at my side, I shot my way through the Thalmor embassy. I even put this poor prisoner out of his misery. We found evidence of Esbern, another member of Delphine's group's whereabouts, and I, unfortunately, had to execute Malborn. There could be no witnesses. Esbern was in the sewers of Riften, but the Thalmor had beaten me there. These idiots were bringing swords to a gunfight. Esbern agreed to return to Riverwood with me, and I was betrayed by the person closest to me. Tipsy the Smurf had poorly timed a fire breath attack. In the tavern, Delphine, Esbern and I set to work trying to figure out how to deal with Alduin. Esbern's book looked hot as fuck, so I took it to read later. The way to defeat Alduin was written on a wall in Skyhaven Temple, so that's where we were headed. The Forsworn got a quick reality check, and for the first time I managed to not only solve this puzzle, but understand it. At the wall we discovered the only way to kill Alduin was with a lost shout called Dragonrend. The Forefathers, being the experts on any shout-related matter, they were my best bet. They directed me to talk to their leader, who turned out to be a dragon. I put my innate American hate of this creature aside to hear what he had to say. The only way to learn the shout was from an Elder Scroll, the location of which I had to pull from a hermit living in an ice cave. I did not like the cut of his jib, so I shot him, not realizing he was an essential NPC before I left. The scroll was in Blackreach, just past a Dwemer ruin. Despite the Dwemer being a mechanically advanced race, before they disappeared, they had not yet developed something stronger than a standard Glock. I shot a cat, and unfortunately, my son Rufus got in the way of Tipsy the Smurf's fire attack. My best friend and my son now hated each other. I navigated my way past some pressure plates, and for the first time in my life was proud of Rufus. I expected his fat feet to accidentally step on at least one. And even if the Thalmor weren't blind, they still wouldn't have been able to see what was coming. The Dwarven Centurion could only take 2 bullets before tapping out, and I helped solve disagreement.
Of course you want me to leave, just waiting for me to turn my back, so you can have all the glory for yourself.
We had got to Blackreach. We had got out of Blackreach. I fiddled with some knobs until I got the Elder Scroll. High up on Parthenax's mountain, I read the Anorexic Tome. I witnessed my ancestors fighting Alduin, and somehow, Rufus was also there. Those ancient bastards didn't kill Alduin, instead they had sent him forward in time. The small ray of sunshine being the fact that I now knew Dragonrend. The big man himself was here to fight. It wasn't a long fight, but it was one of them. He was now gathering his strength in Sovngarde. The only way to get to him? On the back of a dragon. The only way to catch a dragon? Use Whiterun Keep. The only way to use the keep? Convince Ulfric and Tullius to have a temporary truce. At the negotiation table, I blatantly favoured the Stormcloaks. Tullius should have predicted that, given where he had put me in their last encounter. Esbern had figured out the leader of the Greybeards was a dragon, and asked me to slay Parthenax. Despite my ingrained hatred towards dragons, Parthenax had helped me. It would be wrong to kill him. Besides, my game glitched and he was unkillable anyway. With the peace treaty signed, I set to work capturing a dragon and riding it to Skuldofn. I once again left Rufus with Tipsy the Smurf, knowing the game would not allow me to have companions in Sovngarde. I was wrong. I treated a dragon flying outside the dungeon like a clay pigeon, honing my aim and practicing for Alduin. The Draugr were allergic to my bullets, and by the looks of it, so was the dragon priest guarding the portal to Sovngarde. I got some more aiming practice in on some lost souls, and challenged Sun to combat in order to enter Valhalla. It was my birthright as an American citizen. I was particularly proud that Rufus gave defeating Sun a chance before my Glocks did the heavy lifting. Inside Valhalla, I grabbed my scroll ancestors, even though I knew I wouldn't need them. Alduin was tethered to the ground like an aggressive dog that a young family simply refuses to put down. It barely took unloading half a clip to finish him off, but my showboating got the better of me and I was killed by a falling rock. Second time's a charm, and to make sure he was dead, I unloaded the rest of my ammo into him. Before returning to Skyrim, I gave my new friends one last bullet goodbye each. Parthenax had bugged out and died from his earlier inflicted bullet wounds, and with that, I beat Skyrim as a level 1 American. If you liked this video, please leave a like and tell me what actual challenge run I should do in the comments down below, or any other video. If you dislike this video, come up with the most creative threat you can down in the comments below also. Have a great one, Chiefs.